What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to House Divided here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. Do us a solid. Hit that thumbs up button. Smash it. I won't call it names today, but I'm thinking it. Smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. Get notifications. Hello, Catherine, in the Specs chat. Welcome to the Specs chat. Get your comments in. We would love your super chats. If you want to send $100, $200, $300, $1, whatever you're kind of into, whatever your budget is, we'll move it straight to the top of the list. Today, Chad, I feel like we should start off with some music, a certain anthem of ours, because we're doing Portal stuff today.
That's right. Now, the conversation may not be as exciting as this intro, but we do love the intro. So get over here.
Fight! Get over here! Finish him!
Yes, indeed. Spring portal's closed, and Texas still needs some spots to get to 85. The question for today, Catch, is what is left? What's there to take for Texas if they want it?
It is... I think we mentioned the Dollar Tree yesterday. It is a little bit, Fred Sanford inspired in that I don't want to say that these players are, straight from the junkyard, but we're almost at a point where there's no denying that the Longhorns could still use a little bit of depth in a few areas. They have the scholarship room to bring in a few more guys. And I was even thinking about this earlier today, Chad, and that, maybe you're shopping for special teams players as much as anything else. I was thinking about building an NFL roster and how on a 53-man roster, you can typically afford to have a couple of guys who do nothing other than, cover kicks, cover punts, or on all of your special teams. And it'll be interesting to see what Steve Sarkisian does from a continuing to build his 2024 Longhorn standpoint, because it'll take some creative shopping. I wonder how much they're looking at film. I was just reading an article on orangebloods.com that Alex Dunlap posted. By the way, if you're not on Orange Bloods, come on now, get with it. It's only the longest, most successful, badass site covering University of Texas athletics that's ever existed in the history of mankind. There's the QR code. Don't really have a special offer for you today other than it costs like $9.95 a month for basically the cost of what you used to spend on a newspaper back in like 1987. You can get coverage all day long, 24/7, right here or right there on Orange Bloods. I came up with some names, Chad, of linebackers.
Okay.
Because Kendrick Blackshire is gone. There's not a lot of experienced linebacker depth on the Texas roster. In fact, you've got – I think you got 3 linebackers on the team right now that you feel like you could go into Ann Arbor with and play and win with, and then there's not a lot of depth behind there. So I think you could make a case that it would behoove Texas to maybe bring in somebody if they can bring in somebody, because I don't know that what Texas has to sell is a starting spot at linebacker. This is what got Kendrick Blackshire in trouble, right? I'm sure they told him beyond Anthony Hill, it's anything potentially goes, that, you could work your way into the starting lineup and get a lot of reps. But David Benda and Mo Blackwell kind of have, neither of them are like truly standout players, but they're good players. And it feels like there is a platoon that's taking place based on down and distance. And so those two guys are going to play a lot. Anthony Hill's backup's not going to get on the field a lot. So what is it that you're selling? I think you would think you'd be trying to sell the idea that, hey, the best players get on the field. So the same message you probably gave Blackshire, which is if you're one of our best guys, you're going to play, I think is the sales pitch. I just wonder if the guys in the portal, because, I pulled up 4 names.
Okay.
All of them are actually pretty good players. I just don't know what their role would be on this team. For instance, Elijah Herring from Tennessee is out there. Good player.
Yep.
Led the Vols in tackles last year. Talking about a guy that started most of the season. I think he started 12 out of 13 games. He's got big boy teams looking at him. In fact, I think there's some speculation that maybe Kansas State is the team to beat with him. I don't know why you would leave Tennessee to go to Kansas State, but I think it's probably falls into the category of one of the things that we talked about yesterday, which is you start to get a classification of portal guys that are good players, but don't have spots available for them to upgrade, that sometimes you end up downgrading when seeking an upgrade. I think I'd make a call to Elijah Herring. I think what I don't know about Herring is whether or not he and Anthony Hill, from a positional standpoint, are too much of a like for like. I haven't followed enough of his career to know, is he more of a middle guy? Can he play, as the Sam linebacker? Could he be competition for David Benda? Is that what Texas is looking for? But Elijah Herring's probably the best linebacker in the portal right now. And if it's not him, there's another guy named Khalil Jacobs.
Wait a minute, Catch. Somebody brought up a great point. We got to remind ourselves of this.
Oh, that's right.
We got to remember the rule. I was just about to say, it's weird to me that he entered the portal on the 15th and he's still sitting there. And you mentioned K-State, and it made me think, well, why would we got to remember, if you go into the transfer portal in the spring in the SEC, you can't go inside the conference. There's the spoon. Blackshire can't go to the SEC, just like that guy can't go to the SEC. Thank you, Teta. I'd forgotten it.
Thank you.
So, I was with Catch. It was the name I saw too. I'm like, wait, the leading tackler at Tennessee is just out there in the portal, and he's been sitting there damn near a month. That would help explain it, because there are 15 teams that aren't allowed to discuss 2024 with that guy.
I wonder what Elijah Herring is thinking right now. Can he go back? What? How does that phone call work? Because we've seen guys go back. My bad.
Yeah. Well,
sorry about that.
What was the name? Oh, the UCLA kid just did it, right?
Yes.
Toia just did it.
Well, then, okay. Thank you for correcting me. I'm so desperate to just find names, I completely forgot about the SEC rule.
Hey, you saw me throw the thumbs up because I saw that name too, and I'm like, yes, let's talk about that guy. He can't come to Texas.
Okay, so I've got 3 guys.
Okay, here we go.
And none of them are SEC players.
Okay, come on, let's do it.
You got South Alabama linebacker Khalil Jacobs.
Hell yeah, you do.
He was in the portal in January. I saw him saw his name on the athletic.com. He was I think he was the highest ranked linebacker remaining on the athletics list. South Alabama's coach went to Alabama to be the DC. So there was some thought that he might want to follow his DC to Alabama, but Alabama's not looking for linebackers from South Alabama.
Funny how that works.
It is funny how that works.
Yeah, it's math.
He's 6'2", 218, and he's a guy that a year ago, 86 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. He had an interception. He's visiting Alabama, planning to take a visit there. Maybe Alabama's in that shape where Texas is, where they didn't need him in January. He wasn't a guy. They were like, and he went into the portal, thought he was going to follow his DC, ended up going back to South Alabama. Now he's back in the portal, and now Alabama, Auburn, Missouri, those are all schools that, according to The Athletic, he's planning to take a visit to. Maybe that's a guy that Texas picks up the phone and makes a call to and says, you could get on if you can be better than David Benda and Maurice Blackwell, you can get on the field. And although he only played at South Alabama a year ago, his production is better than those players. Mm-hmm. I mean, he did produce at a level higher than those guys. Would he have an interest if he's looking at? I can't imagine that Alabama, Auburn, and Missouri just have wide open depth charts. But he's got multiple years of eligibility remaining, I believe 2. So, you'd be making a multi-year investment here. He's one guy that's out there. Does that move the meter for you at all?
I mean, in terms of the production and in terms of time spent on a field and the production that he put out, it would at least get me a little interested. Does it really move the meter? No, because I think our analogy today of a garage sale is appropriate, because what you get at 7 a.m. is different than what you can get at 9 a.m. And it's really, I think we're talking about noon, Catch. We're talking about noon when you're loading up the truck, right? Like you're loading up the truck and there's a couple people showing up, but you're thinking to yourself, hey, lunchtime, we're about to load this truck up, head to the dump, and I'm hitting Whataburger on the way back. Like we're at about that moment right now.
God bless my wife. She's still hopeful at noon that she can sell stuff.
I was on the first one. Yeah. First time you do it at noon, it feels like it's an all day thing. We might be here till 5. No, you're not. You're not going to be there till 5. There's a reason those people start circling your neighborhood at like 6:45 in the morning, because they know how to play the game. That's the first part of the portal window. That's Walter Nolan. That is, hey, what? Who's mad? Wait, Evan Stewart did what? What? Saban retired. That wave, that's 7 a.m. at the garage sale. We are at high noon.
It might actually be like 11. I mean, it actually might be like 1:15.
Yeah, maybe. Like it's getting hot now. Now it's hot.
So I got another guy.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, he's got 1 year of eligibility left.
Okay.
Jaden McDonald from Troy.
Whoo,
led Troy in tackles last year.
Damn right he did.
That's about all I got. I did not do a deep dive. That's up to. I'm giving him names.
Hey,
names. I have to be honest. I did not go onto YouTube I did not look for the mixtape on Jaden McDonald from Troy, but I know he's available. I know there aren't that many guys available, and he led Troy in tackles last year.
Hey, you know who went to Troy? Didn't DeMarcus Ware go to Troy? Boom.
Sometimes life is as simple as that, Chad.
If you're that good, they'll find you. Maybe somebody needs to
what this guy needs to do to get Sark's interest is put Alabama on his resume. Just lie. Who was the coach that went to Notre Dame and lost his job?
Mike Price.
Yeah. Was it Price?
Was it Price that did the lie? No. Price was the one that got caught.
Price was the strip club guy, right?
Yeah, he's the Tide's rolling guy. But who was the guy that got caught with the oh God, I can see him.
Wasn't he from Georgia Tech?
Yes. What's his name? They're gonna put it in the chat here in just a second. What's
Somebody
that cat's
put it
name?
up there.
Old man, white hair. I can see him.
I can see him too.
George something. Wasn't it oh God, who was he? It's all right. See, you've stopped the show now.
I haven't stopped the show, and nobody knows that guy's name because they haven't put it in the chat.
George, I swear it's a George. George O'Leary. There it is. Well done.
There it is.
Thank you. I had half of it, and they had the other half. Thank you very much.
Good job remembering George.
Whew. It's the first one I saw. Thank you, 2010 Horn. We appreciate it.
All right, and I've got one more.
Okay.
And Boy, when I say this one, I feel like it's going to make Jaden McDonald and Khalil Jacobs look very enticing.
Going to make him feel like
what
Marcus Ware.
You need to have a hype man, right? And the
Uh-huh.
hype man in this case just needs to come in and start reading the options once you get beyond the top two. And remember, we can't get Elijah Herring. We were excited about that for a second.
Yep.
Cincinnati. So their former Big 12 brother for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that Cincinnati had a veteran linebacker named Dorian Jones that entered the portal at the very end of the portal. He had 56 tackles for 2.5 sacks. He had an interception and a sack. No, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 1 sack. It feels like he's okay. Is that good enough? Like, the thing is, if you've got scholarships now to use, it doesn't do you any good this year to hold on to them.
Right. And in the case of linebacker, Catch, I think there's more leeway than at other positions, because we can talk about these other positions and what they need. But to your original point, it's not like you're absolutely looking for a starting linebacker for game one. Are you?
No, I think you're looking for depth.
Right. So at that point, yeah.
Because, if Anthony Hill gets hurt, are you really ready to lean on a Leona Lafau who has no real experience, no real production? I think he might still be a year away from being ready for that kind of role. Are you really ready to lean on that? Or would you like to have an experienced veteran linebacker who has played at the major college level, has produced on some level, although when I talk about the guy from South Alabama and the guy from Troy, they don't quite do that. Again, you're bargain hunting here. And I think special teams might be if I told you that any of these guys would be, a special team standout, does that for me would actually change everything.
Sure. If you feel like you could get some production out of them, yeah.
It's like, hey, yes, this guy does give you more linebacker depth, but more than anything else, from day one, he'll make special teams better. Because I had a few people who said, one of the things that Texas probably has lost in the portal with the departure of Austin Jordan and the departure of even a guy like Terrence Brooks is maybe the special teams isn't quite as good. I don't know that I completely buy that Texas does still have 82 scholarship players on campus. They should be able to fill out a kickoff team, a punt return team, all those teams. But if you could find guys that would elevate those units and also give you depth, I think that's something that I would at least take a look at. It's just funny that, there haven't been enough portal windows that we are able to learn from our experiences yet. This time next year, when we're doing a show, we need to remember what it's like on May 7th. When we're talking about the portal in April, we need to remember, hey, there won't be as many good options from April 15th to April 30th as there was back in January. It's kind of like the 10 a.m. part of the garage sale.
Mm-hmm.
There's still some stuff. There's still some buyers. But there's not but now once you get to the first week of May, now we need to queue up the Fred Sanford and Son.
Right. Yeah.
We need to have that queued up as our Portal Combat song. It needs to be, and at least nothing else, we can play that real funky theme song, because we really are. I'm reminded that, when we were talking about defensive tackles late last week, there's a whole lot of CJ West out of Kent State and Aiden Huntington out of Louisiana Monroe. That's where we are. And the thing is, you can't there's no JUCO market anymore. It's not like you can go into the JUCOs. You can't. There's not any late flyer high school guys to go get. And if you were to go do any of those things, you're somewhat committing yourself in these open scholarships to take a multi-year guy that his only value might be the day that he leaves. When next year we're like, Texas is 3 away from being under the scholarship limit. And you're like, hey, remember that guy that Texas took last year? Can he just go?
Yeah.
Can he just go away?
Yeah, that's a good point. By the way, we're almost up to 500 folks in the Specs chat. We appreciate you. A lot of portal talk today, even maybe if there's not a ton of portal.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go see right now while we're doing the show, Chad.
Okay.
I'm going to see if there's any mixtapes on YouTube of these guys.
Okay, you go look up a mixtape. It's appropriate because I'll talk audio-visual consultations. You'll see if you can find some audio and video on these dudes. Remember, this is the place that can get you hooked up. I got 116 days, Longhorn fans, 116 until that first day of college football, Texas and Colorado State. If you want to update your screen, if you need to update speakers, if you are moving into a new house and you got a badass room and you just need to get it all decked out, this is the place that can do it. There's your QR code, avconsultations.com. But the basic way is just give them a call. They love to do it the personal way. They love to do it the old school way because they've been doing it since 1988. Just making sure you're satisfied. They want to get you that customer service. So call 255-8678 and start telling them about your ideas and let them handle all of it. They can get a better deal on the TV. They can get a better deal on the speakers. They know what cables to use. They know how to set it up, and they can put screens and speakers and do it all in a way you never even thought of because they've been doing this, again, since the late 80s. So let them handle it. Your clock is ticking, but you still have time to get ready for this football season. Hell, we got our guy Wes putting out the video today about that new video game. Hey, if you're a college football freak, you got to have a great screen when the video game comes out this summer, right? Right. Audio-visual consultations can make sure you do it. 255-8678 or avconsultations.com. All right, Catch, did you find a mixtape of anybody currently available in the portal?
Well, I'm trying to find Khalil Jacobs.
Okay.
He's the guy that I'm most look. Alabama is if you go to YouTube and you type in Khalil Jacobs, what pops up is a number of Alabama and Auburn fan, I don't know. I don't see any big time videos, but I don't see any with well, hold on. As I mentioned, he's got some SEC looks. So there are videos from Alabama media people talking about he's an option for them. Same thing with Auburn. But no, I can't quite find any videos that are just a 5-minute highlight tape of Khalil Jacobs. But I'm going to go back to who is Khalil Jacobs? He's a guy, he's got 2 years of eligibility left. He's from South Florida. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
I don't have much more.
Catch, I think there's some important questions that kind of need to get asked here and brought up. People are throwing in some good chats too. We'll get to those. My question to you kind of got there, but I'm seeing all kinds of guys labeled high school in the transfer portal in these last few days. For you, whatever Sark's looking for right now, any guy who was supposed, there's a defensive lineman out that jumped in the portal, was supposed to go to Texas Tech, and then he committed to Tech, then transferred somewhere else, now back in the portal. I saw a guy from Texas State, a linebacker, that committed to Texas State, went to Texas State for the spring, now he's into the portal. Guys like that, do you think there's any shot that Texas is really looking at that type of guy, or are they looking at what they've already done in the portal? Guys like Trey Moore, guys like Makuba, guys like Norton those guys just
don't exist, though.
That have some skins on the wall. Is that what they have to have at this point?
The thing is, if this were Texas in 2021, A guy like Khalil Jacobs would look very tasty right now. Remember, they were taking guys like the Richardson kid out of New Mexico State.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lengthy resume, little bit of film. Hey, he played kind of good against Alabama. Maybe that's enough. The problem is we're talking about a team that's projected to be one of the top 5 teams in America. We're talking about a program that if they don't make the playoffs this year, we will be open in the disappointment that the team didn't live up to like what the expectations would have looked like. So we've just reached a point with this Texas program where the talent that's available, I don't know how much it does.
No, that's fair.
It's not, when we talk about even the kid from Tennessee, it's like, oh, well, he might end up at Kansas State. It's like, oh, no, I get it. Kansas State. I'm sure there are guys that would improve the Kansas State roster or the Baylor roster or the Tech roster or basically pick any team in the Big 12. You can close your eyes and see where at 1:15 in the afternoon on a Saturday, they're still combing through what's left at garage sales to see, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I just don't see a lot of treasure for the Longhorns. It's actually kind of amazing that they were able to get Javion Cole from San Jose State because he actually feels like quality. And at a time when it's really hard to find it, that he was actually a good player for San Jose State. I told you I was reading the article that Alex posted over on Orange Bloods. It was really interesting. He watched the game film of San Jose State against USC.
Okay.
So he was curious to see how he did against Caleb Williams and company. And in the review that he did on Cole in that game against USC from last year, Caleb Williams threw Javion Cole's way one time. It was an incomplete pass, and they just didn't even test Cole. That they went elsewhere. If they were going to if they were going to pick a poison against San Jose State, it wasn't Javion Cole. It was some of these other guys. It was impressive that against US freaking C with the number 1 overall quarterback in the NFL draft and the number 1 overall player that Cole held up so well. I just don't know that there's a whole lot of this elsewhere. And the other thing I want to remind myself, one of these spots for me has to be filled by a punter. If there's a way to do it.
By the way, I found one of those. I found you a punter.
You did?
Yeah. I found you a punter at Marshall.
Oh.
John McConnell at Marshall. Even though on a list I looked at, he's listed as a high school guy. If you dig in, he's not. He's class of 21, redshirted, then played a couple years. Last year at Marshall, 61 punts, a 43-yard average, 6 over 50 yards, and he had a 74-yard punt last year. He's been in the portal since December. So to me, Catch, he compares, at least in theory, to the guy at Notre Dame. When the Notre Dame punter went in the portal, we talked about that guy, and then somebody grabbed him up, or he ended up somewhere else before. I guess Texas may have gotten into the discussion if they cared. That's a name that was at least sort of blinked at me. John McConnell out of Marshall, a guy that's put some stuff out there. He's put some production out there, but he's class of 21, so the jokes will be, how old he is. He's been around a little bit. But
he hasn't been around that long. Class of 21 doesn't make him like a senior citizen.
Yeah, but I think it may get him to fall into, does he fall into a category where he'd have enough of the academics taken care of? Is it a grad transfer situation? I don't know what that would be, but that's a name that jumped out to me at punter.
Well, and that's the tricky part now is on a guy like that, does he have the credits? One of the things that we have to remind ourselves, we talked about this in December, as it related to a guy like Jamari Caldwell from Houston. When
we talked about it with Makuba a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And ultimately, with both of those players, initial skepticism and concern turned into, it's UT football. They'll find a way.
We'll figure it out. We'll get you. No
like originally, it was like Jamari Caldwell. He just can't get into Texas. And then by January, it was like, well, there's nobody else. This is the defensive tackle market. And we think he can play. He could potentially start. We'll figure it out. I suppose it would be the same way with some of these other players. But, I wonder, you can only call like the dean's office so many times and say, hey, we've got a guy whose scholastic, resume really isn't good enough for Texas, but we need someone to average 43 yards a punt this year. Can you do us a solid? I feel like you can only do that so many times. I'm looking at the punter market.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know. That's why there aren't many times where the punter from Marshall's going to blink at you, Catch, but this was one where he kind of did.
It makes me appreciate the Notre Dame kids so much more than I did before.
I know. Yeah.
I heard someone joked that Sarkisian just isn't going to punt this year.
Yeah, right.
And maybe his way of, motivating the offense is to pull them all into a group and say, hey, guys, you just need to know we've not recruited a punter this year. So
we're
no pressure, but we got to get first downs or score.
We are reserving the right to go for it a lot. That's what we're doing.
4th and 18. So, but to me, they've got to find somebody. There's got to be somebody out there. Who was the name you said? Was it John McConnell?
John McConnell, yeah.
I wonder if like John McConnell's parents are out there somewhere. And it's like, our son, he's been in the portal since December.
I know.
We wonder if that was a good move for him at the time. And now we're really wondering. I wonder if they're going to get a call. It's like some guys that do a Texas show on YouTube mentioned Johnny today.
Hey, look out. There it is. There it is.
That's all it needs. There's not a lot else out there on the punter market. And it's not because guys went into the portal and then weren't being scooped up. Teams have kind of raided the portal market.
Yeah. Well, Catch, I think it's pretty clear. These guys that are still in the portal right now, they need one thing. They need Andy at My Perfect Franchise. I think that might be the only thing that could help them, because they have an idea, but they really may not know how to figure it out. I think that's what they need.
Maybe it's a great point. Maybe what Andy needs to do is reach out to some of these punters, because it might time for them to do something besides punt. It might be time for them to start a new career, a new profession, and they don't want to work for the man. They want to work for themselves. Punting ain't working out. Contact Andy 404-973-9901 or email him, text him, whichever you want to do. If it's time to stop doing what you're doing, and believe me, I woke up today and wondered, do I really want to do it, Texas? Do I want to do a show today? We're talking. I'm Googling Michael O'Shaughnessy from Michigan State right now, a punter. Did you look him up, Chad?
I've not looked him up yet.
Because he's, I'm wondering, can he do something? Can he be a guy? I don't know. Can you be a guy? That's what Andy Ledke can help you figure out. Can you do your own business, operate? Do you have a plan? If not, if you only have the idea, but you need the plan, that's where Andy comes in. Again, the contact info is on the screen. He's a great dude. He's had so many success stories from Orange Bloods and other sites on the Rivals Network who have people like you who are sitting at home and want to kind of do their own thing, he can help you, but he can't help you if you don't help yourself by reaching out. Reach out, text, call, email Andy Ledke today. Let him help you out and start living the dream, doing your own business, doing your own career path, and you're not thinking about it anymore. You're acting on it. MyPerfectFranchise.net.
And speaking of Andy and all those great partners, if you've thought about it and you have a great business that could be a part of Orange Bloods, here's how to do it. OrangeBloods.com. You just contact Cody or Sonny or both. You got emails, you got phone numbers there. You can come back later and freeze it right there on the screen and contact him if you want your business to be a part of OrangeBloods.com, Orange Bloods Live, or maybe both. And remember, SEC Media Day is coming up in July. We are trying to get up to Dallas. And if you want to help sponsor, one of the craziest media days that's ever been invented, we would like to go. And if you'd like to help us, that's a great way to do it there too. Advertising with OrangeBloods.com. So thank you for that. Thank you for all your support. And we are up over 600 folks in the Specs chat. So
Chad, I looked it up.
Yes. What'd you find?
Because Michael O'Shaughnessy, it's like a good Irish name, right? O'Shaughnessy?
He should be the Notre Dame punter. I mean, that dude.
Well, he's not.
We got to get that guy to South Bend. Seriously.
Well, they're looking for a punter. He was at Ohio State. He transferred to Michigan State. It says he was a grad senior last year, so I'm not quite sure why he's in the portal. Boy, he really wants to be wanted. He punted 14 times last year for Michigan State, and he averaged 40.1 yards per punt.
Okay.
So I think we've diagnosed why he's still in the portal.
Yes, I think I've solved that mystery.
Now, back
maybe
in 1971, 40.1 yards per punt it's pretty awe-inspiring. The problem is the punting game has evolved over the decades, and you can't be close to the 30s. That's bad.
Catch, even Oklahoma, even Georgia, Bama, and Ohio State have drives that end before midfield, and a 40-yard kick's not going to do much. Like you got to be on a team that gets to the plus 35 on like every drive, plus 40 on every drive to make that make sense. So yeah, you got to be a little better than that. And remember, I told you the Marshall guy was at about a 43-yard average. And that, hell, even that nowadays, maybe coaches are looking for that 45 and up number before they even make a move. Because you're right, punting has evolved on multiple levels of type of punt, length of punt. All the little, monikers we look at. And you got factories and, you got these skill camps and stuff and the Australian part of it producing these punters. So yeah, these kind of guys, if you go look up the punter thing, the amount of guys that are like out of high school, went to a program and then found out, I'm not their punter and have jumped back in the portal. There's a good number of them, Catch. There's a good number.
Let me read you the top 10 available portal prospects according to theathletic.com as of today.
Okay.
It's not all terrible, but there are some names that will reveal to everybody kind of where we are. So the number one guy that's left in the portal actually looks like a pretty damn good player, but he's at a position where I don't think the Longhorns would have an interest in. But there's a defensive end edge player out of Louisville named Tyler Barron.
Okay.
6'5", 260. He was at Tennessee for 3 years, then went to Louisville, and last year had 28 tackles, 41 pressures, 10.5 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. But the Longhorns got plenty of guys at the edge position. They got more guys than they've got snaps to give out. So they wouldn't be interested in a guy like that. There's a wide receiver. The number 2 guy is a guy named Elijah Badger from Arizona State. Last 2 seasons, back-to-back, 135 catches, 1,579 yards, 10 touchdowns. He can play. Texas doesn't really need wide receivers.
Yeah, I was just thinking, yeah.
I mentioned last week C.J. West from Kent State, a defensive tackle.
There he is.
A&M offered.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if A&M is still after him, but he was the top defensive tackle in the MAC last year. Honestly, if I'm Texas, he's a senior. So he might be the best of what's available. And if it doesn't work out, he's gone after this season anyway. I'm telling you, he doesn't fit the profile of what Sarkisian and his staff like to look for in the portal, but I'd give the kid a call. Number 4, Terrence Brooks. Heard of him?
Hey, I know that name.
By the way, that Terrence Brooks is ranked behind C.J. West, a defensive tackle out of Kent State, probably reveals a little bit of if you're Texas and you've got a starting cornerback, you'd like for him to be rated higher in the portal market than a defensive tackle from Kent State. No offense.
Yeah.
To Kent State.
Or to flip around that logic, Catch, if you're Texas and you're looking for a defensive tackle to really help you out, don't you want that guy to be rated higher than Terrence Brooks? Like much higher than Terrence?
It's hard to be rated much higher in the portal at this point.
I guess so. Yeah.
I mean, they only got 10 guys ranked. That's where we are now. It's like, here are the top 4 guys in the portal. There's not a lot of meat on the bone. Number 5, and I think he announced today for Oregon, Jacoby Matthews from A&M.
Okay. I hadn't heard that he made a choice yet.
I think, let me double check that. I think I read that earlier today that he decided on Oregon. Let me just double check. Let me make sure. I could be completely crazy. I just did a search on Jacoby Matthews. Nothing popped up. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he hasn't made a decision yet.
Okay.
No. Wait. I'm pretty sure I read that. I just don't know where the hell I read it. So at this point, we're going to call it fake news.
Fair enough.
Number 6.
Yes.
Bryce Foster.
Okay.
Former Aggie.
That's it.
He's taken an official visit to USC.
Okay.
That's all I got.
There it is.
You've got Cormani McLean, the DB out of Colorado, who's been beefing with Deion Sanders, a little bit like Drake and Kendrick Lamar.
Right. Which now, with or without that, he's probably off Texas's radar now because of Cole, correct? Because of Javion Cole.
Well, and I don't.
If he ever was on the radar.
Yeah.
If he was ever there, he's not now because of Cole.
Then you've got a quarterback, DeMarcus Davis from Washington, who's really has no skins on the wall. He's just a former prospect that was at Washington, is now in the portal. Number 9, Khalil Jacobs, the kid that I mentioned from South Alabama. And then number 10 is Aiden Huntington, the defensive tackle that I mentioned earlier from La Monroe. And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, play the Portal Combat song again for us, because we really are. We're at the end, Chad. We're really at the end.
Fight! Get over here! Finish him!
It's a shame we can't slow it down. Get over
so sad.
here.
Really we had it. We've been playing it for months.
It was sad.
Now it's gone.
I got news for you. With all due respect to Khalil Jacobs and the punter from Marshall, they're not making the graphic. They're just not. Like, it's not going to be. They won't end up on that portal graphic. It will not happen. Thanks to everybody who's
happening in the chat.
There's a lot going on. There's a heavy conversation going on in the chat. I don't fully understand exactly what it is. So you check out a little bit of the chat. I'm going to talk about Hayes City Store because that I know about. You try to find out what's going on in the chat. I want to remind everybody about it. It is that beautiful spring weather still. Even when you get towards summertime, they got you taken care of it. Hayes City Store with all the shade you need. They've got some misters when it gets hot, and they've even got the heaters when it gets cold. They've handled every detail for you, and you're going to love the food and drink, man. It is so, so good. We've talked about all kinds of different things out at Hayes City Store. All 3 of those pork chops I have told you about and showed you the grilled, the blackened, the chicken fried pork chop, the chicken fried steak is amazing, the chicken fried chicken, the burgers, the pizza that my daughter loves so much. My daughter would just go out there for queso. That's how we get her to go. We say, hey, City Store, and she says queso. It's her favorite queso on the planet. That is just another layer of what they do. All those little things, every little detail at Hay City Store might not be the absolute best you've ever had, but it's in the conversation. I guarantee it. Get on out to Driftwood. They're right there between Kyle and Wimberley on FM 150. Just top-notch everything out at Hayes City Store. It is a place you're going to want to go back to over and over again, just like I do. Check them out. There's your QR code, Hayes City Store. Follow them on Facebook at Hayes City Store, and they're going to get you specials, daily specials, and everything that's going on out there at Hayes City Store. Shout out to Travis and Tamara and the folks out there at Hayes City. All right. Have you been able to determine what's going on in the chat today? I feel like there's a lot of, it may be some still maybe some Texas OU residual discussion.
I mean, so some OU guy did a video about us.
Apparently I thought we talked about that yesterday, right? Somebody did a video of you. Is that what it was?
So what happened is I think he got a YouTube copyright violation because he played 4 minutes of our show.
Damn.
Yeah, no, fella, just link the video to our show.
Yeah, I was going to say, come on now.
I mean, just link our video and people can come watch it instead of playing the video. I like reaction videos, though. It's kind of flattering that somebody's doing a reaction. I've been watching reaction videos of people watching the Drake and Kendrick Lamar diss tracks.
Yeah. So wait,
watch them react to them.
So this OU person did a watch along of our show, of part of our show?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
But he had it YouTube. I haven't watched the video. I don't care. I can't claim that Texas and Oklahoma, that the game matters a little bit less than it used to, and then turn around and watch videos of guys from Oklahoma with I can't really talk shit about his background because I have empty shelves right now. So, I had to be honest with myself.
Uh-huh.
But I don't mean to insult anybody. I just don't have it in me to care about somebody that I feel is not worthy of my attention. Guess what? An OU fan is upset with me. I mean, get in line. But apparently there was a copyright violation, so maybe he did a video where he was complaining about the copyright violation. Dude, just don't violate YouTube's copyright rules. But ultimately,
somebody asking, did you turn him in? I'm assuming that's a no.
I did not. But I think Anwar might have.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Okay. But I'm telling you, I don't care. I wouldn't have turned him in. Again, it's kind of flattering. I mean, I can assure you that when I put my head on a pillow last night, I wasn't thinking about that guy, but it would appear that when he put his head on a pillow last night, the opposite isn't true. He was thinking about me. I don't know. I would tell you guys, there's no need to talk about it. We obviously, Chad and I are 48 minutes into today's show. Only after we've talked about the O'Shaughnessy kid.
Yes.
Who's a punter from Michigan State via Ohio State.
Yes.
For the record, I want to put some respect on that name. Only after we've gone through the portal punters, and believe me, it's an ugly place. Have we done? I don't know. I don't know what people want me to say. Am I supposed to get upset and let him have it?
I don't know. We did get a couple of chats along this line. Buckwild Longhorn says, Catch just got here, but great job stepping on Sooner souls. LOL. And I did like this chat catch. Somebody said, fellas, on Catch's OU theory, just remember your viewership plummeted after the OU loss. OU might not matter as much in the grand scheme, but no loss will put us in our feelings like OU.
Hey, Michael.
Thank you.
Let Texas lose to Texas A&M this year, and I think that theory could get tested. But you know what? Like, this is the thing that drives me crazy, Chad, is that I said the Texas OU game matters a little bit less. I can't stand, and this goes for Texas fans too, because you've seen it over on Orange Bloods.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, to say something matters a little bit less is akin to saying, well, the game just doesn't matter at all now.
Well,
nobody cares.
Yeah, I think there is a certain sensitivity with both of these fan bases because it is hard for them to compute it. They're headed into a conference whose moniker is "It Just Means More," and you're telling them that the rivalry between the two of them is going into that conference, yet it will somehow mean less. And they're trying to compute all that.
But it also has just as much to do with the expanded playoff as much as anything, that, that we've gone from a sport where oftentimes what happens in the regular season defines your season. We've seen a lot of years where the outcome of the Texas OU game does kind of define the season. If you're not very good,
right,
the better you are as a team, the more other things matter, right? Like the level of bowl game that you're playing in, now the playoff, conference championships.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not very good, these rivalry games matter a lot more because it's all you got. It's the only thing of significance that you're playing for. This will be one of these things where in 5 years, I'll do it. I told you so. But people don't realize what the expanded playoff actually means to the sport. You and I have talked about what college football, let's say November 1st, is going to look like when 30 teams still think that they can get into the top 12, right? If we just went out, we've got a chance. And every single game on the schedule suddenly matters in ways that it hasn't mattered before. I don't know. It's just, I feel like I'm alone on an island and nobody is speaking my language, but they will in time.
Yeah, it's a fascinating conversation for me. I asked you today as we were getting ready for the show, I asked you if there was any part of that conversation that you still wanted to have, because it's fascinating to me. And there's a lot of my gut that disagrees with you, with what you're saying, because it doesn't compute based on where we're headed. But I think the important part is we just don't know. We do not know because we haven't seen this before. We're trying to figure out what it means.
What you need to know about me is that I don't give a fuck.
That is true.
When does nobody agreeing with me ever stopped me from anything?
No, I
know my audience, Cotton. You guys don't know me.
Yeah, Cotton, that's probably a fair statement that he is making. I've yet to, I don't know that I've ever heard Catch concede on an argument ever, but generally.
Oh, it's happened.
It may have happened. It just doesn't happen very often. It does not happen.
That's true. That's true.
Does not happen. Yeah. Casey, it means more, but then also means less at the same time. Language is weird. Maybe.
Words matter, Casey. Words matter.
Words do matter. That is absolutely true. All right. It is House Divided on a Tuesday. Let's take a breath here, and I'll tell you how I've been taking a little breath. Yes?
I'll come back to it. You go ahead.
Okay, that's all right. I had a great transition about breathing, but anyway, sinus and snoring specialist. I'm breathing better so I can get into all these weird arguments since 2017. That's how long ago I went into sinus and snoring specialist. Kind of crazy. That would be what, right in the middle of that time frame of, heck, wait, 2017? That's like Kevin Sumlin's last year at A&M, right? Tom Herman's first at Texas. I think I've got that right, in 2017. That's how long ago it was. But they helped me with sleep apnea stuff, the snoring, all the allergy issues that I was having. I don't worry about that anymore. I just sleep really, really well. And my wife does too. My wife's going down that CPAP road and she's really enjoying it. But that may not be the road for you. If you've heard about Inspire, they've got that too. They've got all the different options out there in ear, nose, and throat. It's not the same for everybody. This is not cookie cutter stuff. They are going to make a plan that's all about you, and they've been doing this for over 20 years. So go check them out. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. You can go sinussnoringent.com, or you can call them 601-0303, or just hit that QR code there. Sinus and Snoring Specialist. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. All right, Catch. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Well, no, I interrupted you. So the thing is, I had seen this comment from Catherine, and it made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
She says she bargained. She did that thing. She says she bargained an OU loss versus the Bama win. She didn't care as long as we beat Bama because that means more than OU ever will. And the CFP committee agreed. She made a deal with God. Have you done that? We all have, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you do that as a sports fan all the time. Oh, Lord, comma, and then you make a deal.
You're like, here's the thing. As long as the Cowboys win this weekend against the Eagles, I don't care if the Sixers win a game in November. Like, you do that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, Catch, you are correct me if I'm wrong. You're a Cowboys fan that believes that Jerry Jones pleaded with the devil for one more Super Bowl after Jimmy left, no matter what it meant after that, correct?
He signed the contract.
Right, in blood.
He made the deal with the devil that if he won the next one, they could never win another one again. And what I believe is that Jerry didn't read the fine print that was like, not only will you not win again, but I'm going to make, every loss and every season end in torturous ways that you've never even considered possible before.
Catch, he didn't make me do a handshake. We just took a shot of Johnny Walker Blue and it was done. It was fantastic. Yeah, there it is. That can happen, Catherine. But you know what? I'm glad Catherine brought up Bama, Catch, because there's so many angles to this next year that are unique, and we just don't know sort of what it's going to be like. But realize this. Texas and OU are going to walk off that field in Dallas. One of those teams will have to face Georgia immediately at home. The other one's going to have to face Bama at home later in the season. They both get to host the best the SEC has over these last few years, and that's just never been the case in that Big 12. You'd get done with the game in Dallas, and the winner had this like Schlitterbahn kind of flume shoot to the championship.
OU still had Bedlam. They would have Bedlam.
They would.
And you know what? Because they don't have Bedlam anymore, maybe Texas and OU actually means more to OU fans.
Well, I think this is the thing we'll have to do is you'd have to ask SEC fans that are in these big rivals. I mean, look at when Arkansas and South Carolina came in. They aren't big rivals. When Missouri and A&M came in, they aren't big rivals. But the idea that these two are coming in and they're a massive rival with each other, it's just something we're going to have to see how that plays out. I would never argue that game means any less at any point ever, because I've been there. I know what that game's all about. And by the end of the year, will we know some different things? Sure. But I cannot imagine going into that week of Dallas and thinking, well, yeah, that there's a chance this game's not going to mean as much. Like that I can't quite conceive of happening. But, it's just that these two are entering a world that they have never been in before. It's crazy. I want
to ask the chat a question.
Okay.
Everybody in the Specs chat, Texas fans, not the OU fans that are in there and are, whatever. If you could win one game next year.
Oh, here we go.
I want to know Georgia or Oklahoma. If you could choose, because Catherine is saying last year she made the deal with God or the devil, whichever one.
Yep.
Where, and Catherine, if you did it with the devil, the Longhorn Nation owes you some gratitude. Georgia or Oklahoma? You can only win one next year. Which one do you want?
Catherine says Georgia. There's an OU. We're already getting both. There's Georgia. Invincible says A&M. They were not one of the choices. OU.
It's kind of split, right?
OU is another one. Because it's weird.
Well, hold on. Here's the point that I wanted to make, Chad, real quick. The fact that it's split and it isn't 100% Oklahoma is kind of proves my point that Oklahoma used to be the game for the last 20 years. Oklahoma is the game on the schedule, bar none, that Texas wants to win more than any other. And this year, forget about even including A&M into this. If you just go Georgia and Oklahoma, I don't know. I haven't counted what the breakdown was, but let's say it's split just for the sake of continuing the conversation. The mere fact that 50% of the poll or the people inside the Specs chat are picking Georgia as opposed to Oklahoma is proof that the game is slightly diminished a little bit as it goes into the SEC. This is part of the larger point that I'm making. It's not that Oklahoma doesn't matter. It's that Texas fans are entering a world where they're looking at other things and they're finding them more interesting or valuable than just the Oklahoma game.
Well, and it's also something I always think about, Catch, with the SEC when it comes to the shadows of the SEC. Texas and Oklahoma have never had anything that's a shadow. Nothing ever casts a shadow on them.
No, that's true.
Right
Nebraska,
now,
when they first entered,
maybe back that far. I would argue there are three things that are going to cast a shadow on them immediately moving forward. And we've already said two of them: Bama, Georgia, and the SEC itself. Like, it's such a monster. I think it even casts a shadow on its biggest teams. So that does speak to it. What I'd want to know, Catch, on the other side is, and somebody saying Georgia and A&M. For a Texas fan in 2024, if you said Oklahoma or A&M, you only get one. Do they take College Station because of the history of it coming back? Or do they take Oklahoma because it's been their biggest rival and it would set them up for whatever that run would be?
Well, the fact that you're asking the question again is kind of proof of what I'm talking about, that we're going from an era where for the last 20 plus years, for the last decade plus, it's just been Oklahoma because A&M and Texas weren't playing. But in that last decade where Texas and Texas A&M were playing, the A&M Texas game had diminished a little bit, in that Texas and Oklahoma had become the big game, and A&M, because they weren't living up. If A&M had been winning 10 games every year, everything from 2000 to 2012, as it relates to the Aggies and the Longhorns, would have felt completely different. Part of these rivalry games do depend on both sides being really good, and we haven't seen that a lot with the Aggies. But the fact that there are choices now, the fact that there's a Georgia and there's and a year ago there was an Alabama and now there's an A&M for the last decade plus, and I would say going all the way back, the moment Stoops and OU won the national championship in 2000, everything changed. Oklahoma became the thing truly that Texas was chasing. And Oklahoma had the thing that Texas was aspiring to have. Control of the conference, national championship. Like, that became Texas's obsession. So A&M, suddenly their importance in the spectrum decreased. Now it's there are markers. I've had people tell me that when DKR was hired in 57, that he was given, he was told, beat Oklahoma, that's the thing that he had to do. And what I would point out is that over the last almost 70 years since that happened, and God, that's going to make some people feel old, that there have been ebbs and flows into this, that there have been peaks and occasional valleys. But I don't think there's any denying that the importance of the game has shifted, even if slightly over the years. That, I was talking with somebody yesterday, and here we are, Jesus Christ, third consecutive show that we've spiraled into this. I told Pat I didn't want to do this anymore.
I'm sorry. That's why I asked you the question earlier. I should have just let you say no and not seen the. If you hadn't seen that chat, then we would have.
No, you were like, Catch, why don't you read what's going on in the chat and get back to me?
I didn't. I did do that. Yeah, that was me. that was me. That was me. True. I did that. That was me. All right. Before we do get out of here, let's mention we got buy or sell coming up. Of course, let's give Specs the love, though. No matter what you think of this OU discussion, everybody can agree Specs is cool, right? Here we go.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
There you go. A lot of good chats coming in today. I kind of dig this one, Catch, just laying the whole season out. Mark says, with Michigan, Georgia, OU, and Aggie, misspelled that, by the way, Mark, Texas needs to win a minimum of 2 and run the table on everyone else to have playoff aspirations. 3 out of 4 has you in the playoffs. That is if you handle the rest of your business, especially. You go
2 out of 4 and run the table, get you in the playoffs.
You would, that would be the assumption, Mark, that 2 gets you there. Catch, I was looking at, standings from last year and trying to think about how it might apply. Just think about teams like LSU, Ole Miss, and Missouri. Those are the teams that keep blinking in my head because 2 of those teams were, actually, I think all those teams were in that 2-loss area towards the end of the year, right? That's kind of the year they had. In the old version, you threw them away. The thing that's great about what we're going to have is we all are going to be realizing that a 10-2 version of that Missouri team and a 10-2 version of Ole Miss, they're dangerous at the end of the year. And you know who else is dangerous at the end of the year? 10-2 OU that kind of got thrown away by some people mentally. Like I did. I'd forgotten. I did what you did the other day. I looked them up like, what do you win? Like 7 or 8 games? 10. Oh, damn, 10. That's right. And now we're going to see those teams fight differently. I'll give you a game, Catch, that you wouldn't have cared about, that only I cared about, but now multiple people might have to. A game like LSU A&M from last year, late in the year, where LSU ends up winning that game, but the Aggies led by 10 in the second half. Like they played pretty well. A lot of people don't remember that now. Hell, I'd forgotten it because LSU went on to win the thing by 2 scores. But imagine that game playing itself out, Catch, with us talking about, wait a minute, if LSU lets this game go, what does that mean for their playoff aspirations? And in the end, I think they would have ended up just outside of it anyway. But those are the kind of discussions we're going to be having late in a season. And once that's happening, all the rivalries, forget Texas and OU, any rival game that happened in October, it'll get referenced maybe based on who won and who lost. That part of it's going to always matter, but it's just going to kind of fall down the list a little bit in terms of that overall, aspect.
Can I give you the hottest take of the entire show?
Sure.
No one, I don't believe, has out hot taked SLWSVT.
I think that Michigan-Texas game is going to be disappointing. I just truly believe Texas is going to blow this Michigan team out of the stadium. Oh, how about that?
Volleyball clap for that hot take.
Well done. Hey, you know what? Normally, Folks, wait till it gets real hot and summertimey before they do stuff like that. But you go early summer all you want. Well done. Well done.
Blowing that team out of the water, out of the stadium.
Out of their own stadium. You know what, SLW, if you're also a Cowboys fan, if you could throw in like a Zeke Elliott 1,500 yards chat next, I would really enjoy that. Come on.
Hey, here's my hot take of the day. Zeke Elliott gonna average 4.1 yards per carry this season. Boom!
Boom! He's just going to leave that there.
Did you know that in Zeke Elliott's last season with the Cowboys, he averaged 3.8 yards per carry?
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys decided, boy, that's just not good enough for us anymore. We're going to go with Tony Pollard. We're going to let you go to free agency. Have a nice life. He went to New England and averaged 3.5 yards per carry.
Mm-hmm.
The Cowboys were like, we need to get him back and let him be the starting running back again. So there's my hot take. He's going back up above 4.
There it is. There it is. You got to extrapolate those numbers, Catch. Weather's colder. Mac Jones was the quarterback. So 3.5, that's actually 4.2 in – it would have been 4.2 in the spaceship. That's 4.2.
That is a fair point.
I mean, come on. And plus, did they have the Salvation Army tub in New England? No. When the Salvation Army tub is in the end zone, it motivates him, and that gives him at least another yard per carry. I'm just saying.
Let's do buy or sell. We've officially reached the silly season part of the show.
Absolutely. You want to go first or second?
I'm going to let you go first today. I haven't written them down, but I have them in my head.
All right. Well, since we were talking college football in this season and schedules, let's just start right here. Buy or sell number 1, Catch. Today, you'd pick Texas to beat Arkansas and A&M.
I'm going to say buy just because I'm not quite ready to deal with this shit that would come if I sold. I reserve the right to change my mind later, but on May 7th, I don't want that smoke.
Oh, that's funny. That is wonderful honesty. I like that. All right, buy or sell number 2, Catch. Let's go to the NBA. We will have new champs in the NBA. Minnesota is going to beat Denver.
I don't know how could you do anything other than buy at this point. They went into Denver and pistol whipped the reigning champions. By the way, it almost certainly looks like Jokic will be named MVP in the next couple of days, and they don't play again until Friday. So they have to stew on that loss last night for a few days. Joker's going to win the MVP, and then on Friday night they have to go and hope that Minnesota doesn't put them down a 3-0 hole. Man, the Timberwolves look good right now. I don't know how to do anything other than buy that.
Yeah, and they did it without Gobert, and Karl Anthony Towns was the best player for Minnesota and not Edward. Like, it was just a wild night, and they flattened them. That was unbelievable. All right, let's go to tonight, Catch. Buy or sell number 3. Game 1s, you will take Boston and Oklahoma City at home to win tonight and to win their series.
Ooh. You know, these NBA the Celtics is an easy buy.
Okay.
Oklahoma City is just like Minnesota. There are a few teams in this year's playoffs where it feels hard to completely get your hands around what these teams are. They've never been there before. They've never done this thing. I'm going to sell. I'm going to say that the Mavericks steal game 1. It might be that Oklahoma City still wins the series. But the part of this was that they'll win tonight and then win the series.
Right.
And I'm going to take Luka to come in game 1, steal game 1, and then officially that Mavericks OK series will be on. Yeah, by the way, it'll just give me another way to alienate Oklahoma fans.
Both of those visiting teams really need a split. Cleveland really needs a split in that series, but
it may not matter even if they were to get a split.
Yeah, but my Mavs do too, man. My Mavs are so up and down. They don't need to get down 2-0 in that series. That'd be a bad idea for them too. All right, Catch, let's go to the movies here. Buy or sell number 4. You have been busy, but you will see The Fall Guy in the theater.
Buy. The Fall Guy and Challengers are both movies that I plan to see in the theater. I wanted to see Challengers in the theater anyway. It's a sports movie.
Yes.
But Zendaya in a threesome on film, it's supposed to be pretty hot. Like, I'm in. Don't have to tell me anything else. I'm in.
Yep.
Take my money. All of it.
Yep, I am definitely going to check out Challengers at some point. I'm not sure if it's in the theater. I did see Fall Guy in the theater, and I would recommend it. And yeah, it was good. And finally, catch number 5. Earl Thomas has a birthday today. He is the best safety you've ever seen at Texas.
Bye. Yeah. The crazy thing is, I don't even know if it's close. And that will sound like hyperbole, given that Michael Huff and Stanley Richard and so many other guys over the last 40 years of me watching Texas football. There have been some amazing safety play, but Earl Thomas, the list starts with him, and I think there's a gap. As good as Michael Huff was in 2005, as good as Michael Griffin was in that same time frame, as good as so many players have been, Earl Thomas is on a different level.
Yep. Happy 35 today for Earl Thomas. All right, Catch, what do you got?
Buy or sell number 1. I'm going to go away from college football mainly just because this is the only, for some reason, this is the only buy or sell question that I actually entered into the system today.
Okay.
So buy or sell number 1. You're buying Jalen Brunson as a superstar in the NBA and not just a star.
Buy. It hurts my soul a little bit because he used to be a Maverick, but yes, I'm buying that. When you start throwing stats together and the only way they can explain the stat to you is to say Michael and Jordan, yes, then you're getting up into another level. He's doing it at MSG. He's doing it for that team that's just got so much weird spotlight on it. Yes, he's taking that step. I think we're watching 2 or 3 different guys right now in the NBA taking that step from star to superstar. It's fun to watch.
Buy or sell number 2. I have a fly that's like zipping around my face right now. It's been driving me crazy for about 15 minutes.
Buy. Kill it.
Buy or sell number 2. Flies are worse than cockroaches.
For me, I am going to sell that. I'm always bothered a little bit more by the cockroaches.
Me too.
It's a little more to kill them. There's a little more mass to them. It's a little gooier when you kill them. With the fly, I can just do a quick little plah and they're gone. And it's a quick thing. And the carcass is very small and disposable. With the roaches, it gets gross, and it gets gross fast.
Spoken like a man that's killed some roaches.
And some flies, by the way.
You had the full-on scouting report there. It's gooey, and I just don't. Buy or sell number 3. I've got to ask this because you mentioned it. You've seen The Fall Guy, and you said that it was a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Buy or sell, nothing happens in that movie that ruins or alters or changes in any way your feelings about the original TV show.
Buy. Yeah, buy. There's nothing in there that alters that. Now, keep in mind, I was not the most religious Fall Guy watcher. I didn't watch every single episode back in the day, but I watched the Fall Guy back in the day. Yeah, buy. Didn't do anything to ruin it. And I thought that, you got to know kind of going in that you can sense a certain silliness to the movie as you go in, right? This isn't just a full-on drama by any stretch. So you kind of got to know what they're doing. But yeah, I think they do a really good job, and you get the right amount of new versus the right amount of kind of the nostalgic idea of it. So yeah, overall I would buy.
I have the original Fall Guys series, all 5 seasons on DVD. Should you want to borrow? And
okay.
One year I went on vacation 10 years ago. We went to the beach and it rained a lot while we were at the beach. And I'd knocked out 2 seasons of the Fall Guy in 3 days.
Yeah. Once you see it, we need to have a discussion, but we don't need to have it now.
Well, I've never spent much time in school, but I've taught ladies plenty. I love that. God, you got me reminiscing about the fall guy.
I know.
Fire sell number 4, Oklahoma, the Sooners. Vegas has them at 7.5 on over and under for wins this season. There are a lot of Sooners in the chat right now. To make them happy, you'll buy them winning 8 games this year.
That feels like a buy. By the way, if you can take that off the screen, that'll be good for me because it's confusing me. I'm seeing Jalen Brunson.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think I'm going to buy that. I need to look at the schedule and kind of break it down. But keep in mind, OU has a November pillow that they've installed, Catch, with Maine. They're playing Maine in November. They'll have 2 conference games done by the time they play Texas, but that's because they have this Maine game. Texas is going to get all the non-con out of the way early. So because of that, and, again, a 10-win football team from last year, I think 8 is doable. The question is, what I'm interested, like from an Aggie perspective, Oklahoma and A&M, 2 teams that don't play each other this year, where will they be in the discussion if OU does get to 8? Are the Aggies also getting to 8? Are the Aggies getting to 9? Is Oklahoma getting 9? Anyway, but I'll say it's 8 or more for OU. Yes.
And finally, buy or sell number 5. Between Oklahoma fans, Texas fans, and A&M fans.
Now, here we go.
For you, the biggest collection of bitches among the fan base, easily the Oklahoma Sooners fan base. Buy or sell. Biggest group of bitches.
I think for multiple reasons, it's a buy. It's just gotta be a buy. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways we could define that, but yes. And I think there's an interesting battle when it comes to like the psychology of just waking up and thinking about nothing but Texas. But I do think the Sooners outlast the Aggies in that conversation. And it's hard to do.
Volleyball clap for the Aggies. I tend to agree with you, Chad.
I think they do it. I really do. I mean, the Aggies did just spend 12 full football seasons at least pretending not to care what was going on. But I don't think Oklahoma fans could even pretend that, Catch. Like, they do it in their team pictures. They make T-shirts up. They do everything to let you know that their whole 24 hours is about hating Texas. So yes, I think they are the fan base that takes it to just another level. Like Texas fans always tell you, the Aggie rivalry feels like a family rivalry. The OU fan feels like even if they're on fire, we're not putting them out kind of rivalry.
OU fans strive to be a little bit less like bitches. True story. I'll end it here and then we can sign off. So OU has like the Nike contract and that the partnership. They've got like the Jumpman logo on the goalposts. But when I first Oklahoma as an institution and their fans are such bitches that the first time I saw the Jumpman logo in the end zone, I thought it was an upside down Longhorn.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh God, now they've got.
Yeah.
So Texas fans, look at the Jumpman logo and you can kind of see the makings of an upside down Longhorn. And in a weird way, wouldn't that be more fitting on the goalposts?
It would have. Catch, when I realized a couple years ago that the OU interlocking logo actually has an upside down Longhorn in it, it blew my mind. When someone showed me that the first time and said, you're never going to look at this the same way. And I'm like, wait a minute. And you look at it and realize, holy crap, it's there. And if they meant to put it there back in the 70s and 80s or whenever it was invented, that's another level, Catch. And my people aren't thinking of it on even that level. Like, it's in their logo. It's in the Aggies song. It's in the Aggies War Hymn song.
Again, Aggie fans
have it in the logo.
Bitches, but not on the level of Oklahoma.
I know. It's a whole thing. Oklahoma fans will tell you, whether they designed it that way or not, that logo has two things in it. It's got an upside down Longhorn and it's got a number 1. Look carefully. You'll find both of them, and then you'll never look at that logo the same way again, ever. And
All right.
somebody, yeah.
Chad, I'm cooked. I'm done.
There it is. There it is. Tomorrow on House Divided, more of what Ketch thinks of OU fans. We'll break it down on an
Because the
episode.
rivalry means just a little bit less.
How much less? That's what we haven't talked about yet. What percentage Ketch does it mean 85% less? That's the question.
No, it's like a smidge.
Okay.
It's a smidge.
It's a skosh.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. That's
Again,
all it is.
people, words matter. Listen to what I'm saying, not what you think you're hearing.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. But also, before we get out of here, another reminder, if you want to advertise on orangebloods.com, Orange Bloods Live, if you want to help out with the SEC Media Days and get your company's name out there, this is a great way to do it. Reach out to Sonny or Cody or both, and they will be glad to help you out. If you love one of these shows on Orange Bloods Live, or you love one of the recurring articles on orangebloods.com, or you're just trying to figure out how to go sponsor that crazy message board at orangebloods.com, where Ketch and the Sooner fans are going back and forth, you can figure out that too. So that is how you do it. Thanks to Cody and Sonny and our crew for all the great work that they do. Thank you for liking and subscribing and getting your notifications. We got damn near 800 folks in the Specs chat as we're getting ready to close the door. Also, check out those short videos on Orange Bloods Live. Our man Wes has a great video out today about what he wants to see in the new college football game. So if you're a college football video game freak and you're ready for that game to come out, it's just kind of some good thought starters of things he wants to see in the game, and you can join that chat in the comment section as well. So check all that out. Also, a reminder, the Modcast is coming up this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Catch, we got Modcast rolling today.
It's unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. Okay, but if there is a Modcast, it'll be all about OU and the fan base, I'm assuming.
Yes. Or
Yes.
players in the portal that don't exist.
Or Ketch will find you more punters in the portal. Moving forward, the SEC might want to rethink that rule. We'll have to get to that discussion at some point too. All right. Thanks to everybody for jumping in. Until tomorrow at noon, we